All right, so are you ready for this? We're diving deep into Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Oh, this is going to be good.
You guys gave us a really interesting mix of sources for this one.
Amazing, isn't it, how this book, it just resonates across cultures. That Hindi video really drove that home for me.
It's pretty clear that you're serious about mastering your habits, right?
Oh, yeah.
And this book is like the ultimate guide, the gold standard. But we're not just going to rehash the whole thing, are we?
No way.
We're going to pull out the absolute best parts.
The juicy bits?
The stuff that'll make you go, aha, and actually stick with you. Sound good?
Sounds great. Let's do it.
Okay, so one thing that pops up constantly everywhere in this book is tiny changes lead to huge results.
It's not about some overnight transformation. It's those small, consistent wins that really add up.
Exactly. And James Clear, he calls this the aggregation of marginal gains.
Right. And he uses that incredible story of British cycling to really show it in action. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. With the coach, Dave Brailsford.
Yeah, Dave Brailsford. He took this, totally average team.
Mediocre, right?
Yeah, mediocre team, and turned them into Olympic champions.
Champions. And it's crazy because they obsessed over every tiny detail. Things that most people wouldn't even consider. Like heated shorts, can you believe that?
Heated shorts.
Just to keep those muscles at the perfect temperature.
For optimal performance. And they'd even rub alcohol on the tires for better grip.
Seriously.
Yeah.
It's those little things. Added up over time, they made a massive difference.
It's a huge difference.
So think about it. What tiny changes could you make in your life? Like what could you tweak today that would have a huge impact, but over time?
And the math is pretty incredible. If you get just 1% better each day for a year,
just 1%.
1%, you'll be 37 times better by the end of that year.
Wow, that's huge. I mean, that just shows the power of compounding, right?
Oh, absolutely. But it works both ways, you know? Think about those small negative habits, the ones that might be holding you back.
Like hitting the snooze button a couple extra times?
Yeah. Or scrolling mindlessly on your phone.
For hours.
Over time, all that, it adds up too.
That's a scary thought.
Yeah, it is.
It's like those little snacks you sneak in throughout the day. You know, a cookie here, a handful of chips there. It doesn't seem like much in the moment, but over time?
It can sabotage your goals.
Totally.
Which is why it's so crucial to be mindful of those tiny actions that we repeat day after day. They shape our lives, whether we realize it or not.
Okay, so we've got it. Small changes, big impact. But how do we actually build those good habits and break the bad ones? And that's where things get really interesting.
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
Right. So the audiobook summary you sent over, it talks about something called identity-based habits.
This is powerful stuff. It's not about willpower. It's about shifting your focus from what you want to achieve to who you want to become.
They give this really good example. Two people trying to quit smoking.
Oh, I remember that one.
One says, I'm trying to quit. The other one says, I don't smoke.
Such a subtle difference in language, right?
But it's a huge difference in mindset.
Massive. That second person, they already see themselves as a non-smoker. Their identity has already shifted. That's the power of aligning your habits with who you want to be, not just what you want to achieve.
So powerful. It's like, what kind of person do you want to become?
Yeah.
What habits would reflect that identity?
That's it.
For example, I remember when I was trying to become a morning person.
Oh, I remember that.
It was so much easier once I started thinking of myself as someone who just naturally woke up early and got things done.
Right. You embody it.
You embody it. It's like your actions start to follow once you shift that internal image of yourself.
It's a feedback loop. Our habits shape our identity, but our identity also influences the habits we form.
This is where James Clear really nails it. He doesn't just tell you what to do. He gives you a framework, the 4 laws of behavior change, that are super practical and easy to use. It's like a cheat code for building better habits.
The 4 laws. You got it. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, make it satisfying. Those are the foundation for everything.
Let's break it down. First up, make it obvious.
All right, make it obvious.
This is all about understanding how our brains work, how cues trigger our habits, good or bad.
Right, and Cleary uses that story about a paramedic to illustrate this.
Oh, yeah, the one at the family gathering.
Yeah, she's at a family gathering, and she notices her father-in-law acting a bit off.
But he wasn't showing any of the, typical symptoms, right?
No, not really. But her intuition, it told her something was wrong. And you know what? Turns out he had a blocked artery.
Wow.
Could have had a massive heart attack at any moment.
That's crazy, but it's like her paramedic brain, it was picking up on these super subtle cues that most people wouldn't even notice.
Like a sixth sense.
Right.
Exactly. It just shows you our brains, they're constantly predicting outcomes based on our past experiences.
It's like pattern recognition.
Exactly. And that's how habits form.
Yeah.
We encounter a cue, our brain predicts a reward, and then we do the thing to get that reward. And the more we repeat it, the more automatic it becomes.
So if we want to build good habits, we need to make the cues for those habits really obvious.
You're setting yourself up for success.
Exactly. That's where those implementation intentions come in.
Ah, yes. It's like creating a specific plan for when and where you'll actually do the habit you're trying to build.
So instead of saying, I want to exercise more,
Right.
you'd say, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m., I'm going to go for a run in the park.
Boom. You've got a plan.
There you go. No ambiguity.
Exactly.
It's like setting an alarm and putting your running shoes right by the door.
You can't miss them.
You can't miss them. I actually did that when I was trying to start a meditation habit. Instead of just thinking, oh, I should meditate more.
Which we all do.
Right. I was like, okay, every morning after I brush my teeth, I'm going to meditate for 5 minutes in my living room.
Yeah.
It worked. Just making it that specific made a huge difference.
I love it. And you know what? The research backs it up. Having that clear plan, it increases your chances of actually following through.
That's awesome.
Big time.
Okay, so we've made it obvious, but let's be real. Some habits, like exercising or eating healthy, they're not always the most fun. How do we make them more appealing?
Right. How do we make them more attractive?
That's where this temptation bundling thing comes in.
Oh, I love this one.
It's like linking something you need to do with something you actually want to do.
So smart.
Like, remember that student that Claire talks about?
Yeah.
The one who hacked his stationary bike?
Oh, yeah. To only work if he was watching Netflix.
Can you believe that?
That's brilliant.
He bundled his need to exercise with his desire to, like, binge watch his favorite shows.
And it worked.
It totally worked. He started actually looking forward to his workouts.
Yeah.
Because he associated them with something pleasurable.
It's genius.
So how can we apply that to our own lives?
Right. What do you enjoy?
What do you really like to do? How can you link that enjoyable activity to a habit that you need to do? Maybe listen to your favorite podcast while doing chores.
I do that.
I do too. Or you could, like, reward yourself with a relaxing bath after a long study session.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's like tricking your brain into wanting to do the things that are good for you.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on to the third law. Make it easy. I have a feeling this one is all about reducing friction and making good habits, effortless.
You got it. Clear is all about starting small, reducing those barriers to entry for any new habit. He calls this the 2-minute rule.
2-minute rule.
Basically, scale down any habit to a version that takes less than 2 minutes to do.
So instead of trying to run a marathon on your first day, you just focus on putting on your running shoes and jogging around the block
That's it.
for like 2 minutes.
Exactly. You're building the ritual, not the intensity, at least at first, like reading just 1 page before bed. That still counts.
It goes back to those tiny habits.
Yes.
The key is to establish the routine. Make it so easy that you almost can't not do it.
Exactly. And once you've got that 2-minute version down, you can gradually increase it over time. The point is, make starting as effortless as possible.
Because the more you repeat it, the more automatic it becomes.
Absolutely.
It's like that saying, walk slowly, but never backward. Consistent progress, no matter how small, is always better than sporadic bursts of intense effort.
I like that.
All right, let's tackle the final law, make it satisfying. So this must be all about making sure that the habit is rewarding so you're more likely to stick with it.
You nailed it. We are wired to repeat actions that make us feel good. So finding ways to make our good habits enjoyable is key. Clear recommends tracking your progress.
Oh, like keeping a journal?
A journal.
Yeah.
Or using a habit tracker app. Visualizing your success, it can be super motivating.
Oh, yeah, totally. It's like giving yourself a pat on the back each time you succeed.
Exactly. There are other ways, too. Reward yourself with something you enjoy after completing a certain number of repetitions. Or find ways to make the habit itself more enjoyable.
Like listening to your favorite music while you exercise.
Exactly. Or finding a workout buddy to keep you company.
Social support.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about finding ways to reinforce those positive behaviors so they become, like, ingrained, almost like second nature. And that's the beauty of the 4 laws, right?
I think so.
They work together. They create a system that makes good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible.
That's the goal.
This is great stuff. But there's still so much more to explore.
Oh, there is.
So what do you say we take a quick break?
Yeah, let's do that.
And then come back and talk about some of those advanced tactics that Clear talks about, for taking those habits to the next level.
Absolutely. And maybe we can even weave in some of those insights from that Hindi video.
Oh, yeah. That adds like a really interesting cultural perspective to these universal principles.
It does.
All right. Sounds good. See you in a bit.
See you soon. Welcome back. Ready to dig into those advanced tactics. Building good habits, it's not like you just reach a finish line and you're done. It's a journey.
It's an ongoing thing, yeah. So we've got the basics with those 4 laws.
Yeah.
But how do we keep things interesting when good habits start to feel, routine?
Clear talks about deliberate practice, pushing past your comfort zone to really master something. It's like a musician practicing scales, not always a thrill, but essential, right?
Right. It's like focusing on very specific areas you can improve and constantly challenging yourself to get better.
Yeah.
Reminds me of learning guitar. I hit this plateau, but then I started focusing on specific techniques, practicing deliberately, and that's when I saw real improvement.
Exactly. Applies to anything. Writing, public speaking, name it. Deliberate practice means breaking things down, improving each part.
And that's where having an accountability partner can be huge. Someone watching your progress, holding you accountable, it's motivating.
Oh, totally. It's like a cheerleader and a coach all in one. They give you support, feedback, help you stay on track when those old habits try to creep back in.
Like a workout buddy, more likely to hit the gym if you know someone's waiting.
Exactly.
Speaking of staying motivated, the Hindi video you sent, it made this interesting point about choosing habits that really match your values, bring you real happiness, not just a quick hit of pleasure.
It's not about chasing those short-term rewards or needing other people's approval. It's deeper than that. It's about habits that make your life more meaningful. It's asking yourself, why am I even doing this?
Yeah, are you achieving things just to achieve, or is there something more driving you? It's easy to get stuck in that cycle of wanting external rewards without ever feeling truly satisfied.
Exactly. That's why self-awareness is so crucial. What really matters to you? What kind of life are you trying to build? Those are the core values you got to connect with.
And then you choose habits that support those values. Your actions should match the vision you have for yourself.
Makes sense.
The Hindi video also talked about how our environment and social circles, they shape our habits without us even realizing it, especially with things like money, how we spend it.
It's like we're all part of this giant habit experiment, constantly influenced by the world around us.
Right. They use this great analogy comparing our financial habits to how we use our time and energy. If we're always spending money on instant gratification, it's like wasting all our time on things that don't help us reach our long-term goals.
Powerful image. It highlights how important it is to be mindful of our spending, investing in things that will pay off in the long run,
Things like education, experiences, building a strong financial base. It's all about delaying gratification, making choices that line up with your future dreams.
It all comes back to that idea of identity, right? If you see yourself as responsible, good with money, you're going to make choices that reflect that. Your actions and your self-image need to match.
So true. Okay, switching gears for a sec. Back to that audiobook summary. Clear gives some specific tips for making good habits more enjoyable. He talks about celebrating those small wins, acknowledging your progress along the way.
For sure. Give yourself a little reward for hitting a milestone, even if it's small. A cup of coffee after a good work session, a relaxing bath after a long day.
Little things like that, they make you want to keep going. Sometimes even just noticing your effort, giving yourself a mental high five, it can boost your motivation.
It really can. Clear also talks about visual cues, like using a habit tracker app or keeping a journal.
Oh yeah, seeing your success visually can be super motivating. It's a real, tangible reminder of what you're committed to and how far you've come. It's satisfying to see those check marks add up or those pages fill up with proof of your hard work.
It's like watching your savings grow or seeing that to-do list get shorter. Speaking of accountability, Clear highlights another good one. Make your commitment public.
Put it out there.
It can be a little scary, but effective, sure. Tell other people your goals and you're more likely to stick with it. Nobody wants to let people down.
It's social pressure, but the good kind.
Right. Doesn't have to be a big announcement.
Right.
Tell a friend about your new workout routine. Share your writing goals with a group.
And you get that bonus support and encouragement from the people you told.
Exactly. Can be huge, especially when things get tough.
So we've covered a lot. Tiny gains, identity-based habits, the 4 laws, even those extra strategies. But there's this one last idea from that Hindi video I found really thought-provoking. It's this. Our habits, both good and bad, are often shaped by our environment and the people around us, even if we won't realize it.
It is a bit humbling, isn't it? We're not always totally in control, but it also shows how important it is to be aware of our surroundings.
They use food choices as an example. If you're always around unhealthy snacks, it's tough to stick to healthy eating, like the saying, you are what you eat, but it goes beyond food. The people we hang out with matter too. If our friends and family have bad habits, we're more likely to pick them up too.
Right, like our habits are contagious. I read a study once found that if one of your friends is obese, your chances of becoming obese increase by 57%.
Whoa, that's a scary thought. It really shows how important it is to surround yourself with people who support your goals and have healthy habits themselves.
It's not just who you spend time with, but also the physical spaces you're in. Cluttered, disorganized home can make it hard to focus, be productive, but a calm, organized space promotes peace and clarity.
You're creating an environment that helps you build the habits you want.
Makes sense. So we've explored a lot. The power of those small changes, shaping your identity, the 4 laws, taking your habits to that next level.
We even talked about how much our environment and the people around us impact our behavior. It's been a fascinating deep dive into atomic habits.
It really has. But before we wrap up, anything else you want to leave our listener with?
Feels like we've only just scratched the surface here, you know?
Yeah, even after this deep dive. Atomic Habits, it's got so much to it. So much to think about and really apply in your life.
So much, yeah.
Yeah.
For our listener, the one who's been with us this whole time,
Yeah.
what's the most important thing to remember? If you had to pick one.
I'd say this. Building better habits, it's a journey. It's not like you reach the destination and that's it.
It's a process.
It is.
Yeah.
It's about constantly trying to improve, being aware of yourself, making choices that really match what you want, your values, all that.
Right. And it's those small changes, the tiny things that when you stick with them, they can have some pretty incredible results.
It really can. It's like a ripple effect, right?
Yeah, it is. One small change leads to another and then another.
Exactly. Makes me think of something we haven't really touched on directly. When you look at the habits you've already built, the good ones, A and D, the bad ones, how many of those were actually choices you made, like consciously decided?
Yeah.
And how many were just kind of shaped by where you are, who you're around,
That's such an interesting question. It's so easy to just go through life on autopilot. But when you really think about it, there are probably tons of things, external factors, that have influenced the habits we have today. It's almost like, we're all in this giant habit experiment.
It is a bit like that, right?
And we're constantly being shaped by everything around us.
That's true. And recognizing that, it's empowering, but also kind of humbling.
It is, yeah.
We have more control than we think sometimes, but it also shows you how important it is to pay attention to your environment, what you let into your life.
So much to think about. And hey, we want to hear from you. What breakthroughs have you had with Atomic Habits?
What habit are you going to focus on first?
Hit us up on social media. Let us know. We're all in this together, right?
Absolutely. And remember, this is a lifelong thing. Always more to learn, to explore, to achieve.
There is.
Atomic Habits, it's a powerful tool. Use it well, stay curious, and keep going for progress, not perfection.
Beautifully said. Until next time, happy habit building, everyone.